Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you for joining me here. I hope you're having a great day. One more look here at SUI, see what's going on. We got this little swift recovery off this range we discussed previously as a decent support level, that 310 to 320, more specifically that 315 to 320 range, where we saw the price action with a lot of confluence there with a point of control, but also a previous support slash resistance level at about 320. So it's more of a macro number, which is proving to be pretty decent here. Keep in mind, a lot of this occurred mainly because Bitcoin responded well after the CPI data, basically inflation data, came through poorly. Saw this massive little dump and then an instant pump afterwards. So SUI is following suit for the most part with a 1-to-1 ratio of Bitcoin. So keep in mind, it's nothing super amazing with SUI right now. It's just the standard recovery, or just kind of running concurrent in a lot of ways with Bitcoin. Now, what we're going to look at today, though, of course, is just kind of potential shifts in momentum, but also more importantly, how the overall price action is behaving between now and the last couple of days. As we can see here, just from comparing charts, you can see SUI is establishing higher highs and higher lows, so that's definitely very positive. Minus the last 3 or 4 hours that have been roughly the same as Bitcoin, you got to recognize that SUI pulled back pretty hard too. So once more, a lot of little things we got to kind of take into consideration here when analyzing the charts. You don't just take a long at support because it's what you do. While that's a part of trading, that's a very small part. That's more of like a spot bag play, right? When it comes to like leverage of any sort, or just trading with more risk, inherently more risk, because if you're going to be taking longs and shorts, you're going to find that. It's important to kind of factor in a few other things here. So what we want to do first is look at liquidation, see what's going on. Mainly speaking to those who are new to the channel, obviously you know why we do this if you haven't, but the whole point is to identify areas of concentration where people are hedged the most. And we can see a lot between 360 and 380. So it seems more likely that we're going to see that kind of price action, but it's completely contingent on Bitcoin breaking free from its descending type of trend and essentially just successfully pulling its head from its ass. It has been the worst. I've seen the worst trading conditions the last 5 to 6 weeks than I think I've ever seen in crypto. It's been trash. So again, that being said, SUI is actually maintaining quite nicely overall, considering how hard it had to pull back, how overextended it was. And the last week's worth of trading for this coin has been better than most coins. So there's that. Furthermore, too, again, liquidation the upside, yes, there's still some left to the downside, but we're much further away from that. So I think that's becoming less of a reality the longer we spend in this upper range between 3 and 350 as a rough estimate. Okay. Macro perspective, there's a lot to the upside. Of course, we don't need to worry about that just yet, but there is more incentive essentially to push the price higher than lower based on more macro perspectives here. Okay. So again, Bitcoin can maintain 97, 98, just say 100,000 or higher. We're probably going to see a pretty big explosion from this coin. And I think that's more of a probability the longer we spend in this range, just because Bitcoin it keeps holding very strong at that 95K range. And I think we're on the verge of some pretty good stuff from Bitcoin, but it's still way too early to tell. And if you're not familiar too with it, if you haven't seen it, we have this massive, type of pattern here that typically breaks the upside, but we haven't broken the upside. We've seen tons of fake outs, but there's a lot of liquidation that has been swept for Bitcoin, and the likelihood of the price going up from here is greater based on the liquidation delta being too high and concentrated, and with that open interest above us. So again, just some little things to be mindful of. While it's never perfect, we're seeing a pretty synonymous pattern here for this coin versus Bitcoin. And that's a good start, right? In order to break free from Bitcoin, essentially, you need to kind of run concurrent with it in a lot of ways. All right, so let's take a quick look at the moving averages on the daily time frame. Just recognize we're still bearish. There's nothing hidden here. There's nothing telling us that we're soon to converge. Keep in mind, we do have a MACD convergence that is forming right now. And if that were to cross over, that's a slightly better situation. But you got to recognize, folks, some people put this on a pedestal. I have before at some point too. In fact, I tried trading solely based on the moving average convergence divergence. And it doesn't work because there's too many manipulative scenarios and too many fake outs. But for the most part, this is a good sign letting us know that this overall trend that we've been seeing ever since January 11th, roughly 30 days ago, we've seen the price action just pulling back. Now, it's still pulling back to an extent. However, with the MACD convergence, it's kind of letting us know that the shift in momentum is happening, right? And it's true. We have seen a pretty solid last 3 trading days for SUI versus Bitcoin, and I think the likelihood of further upside is higher. But once more, don't attach yourself to that one thing, because from an RSI standpoint, we're still below a lot of resistance. While stochastic is swinging up, we see our money flow index is still rather low, and until that continues to increase, it's not really to be trusted. That's just generally the concept. Now, 4-hour time frames, well, those start to factor in, right, too. We got the hourly and the 4-hour, because again, 4 hourly candles makes a nice 4-hour candle. 6 4-hour candles makes a nice daily candle. If we see good, solid shifts of momentum on smaller time frames, they do factor into larger time frames too. So I mentioned that because at this point here, based on this chart pattern, last just say 48 hours, ever since we bottomed out at 290 roughly, we can see the price actions perform very well compared to Bitcoin. So statistically, I think we're more likely to go up than down at this point for this coin, based on being above both moving averages. We are maintaining above 50 in the RSI, which is very important. Not a lot of coins can say that. And the same thing here, stochastic swinging up. We're seeing a MACD, MACD FU, I refer to it as. This is another example here too, just so you know, the inverse applies here as well. You take a look at this here. Imagine you shorted this coin because you're seeing a MACD divergence that was just about to hit, and then you shorted and the price just does what it did here and rips you up. And it rips up and destroys your short. That's a very common occurrence. So again, all the more reason not to utilize the MACD solely, but this is a good reiteration here of the fact that a convergence means very little if everything else is bullish in this case, or rather a divergence means very little. Okay, so again, we got that little bounce there is a simple way to understand it. And I commonly call it an MACD FU because it's basically just a screw you in your face, you shall not pass. And that's kind of what we're seeing there. Again, reinforcing that support at 320. Nice stuff there. That's good. So for the most part, daily time frame, not so great. Most coins are reflecting that. 4-hour time frames looking pretty awesome. Hourly, let's go ahead and confirm and see where we're at here. Now, the Ichimoku cloud commonly you want to avoid trading when you're within the cloud here, because it tells you that you're shifting momentum based on the simple fact that these are based on moving averages in the recent past. And the truth is, with the convergence, the conversion line and the baseline intersecting, the lagging span not being free and clear, we're not out of the woods yet. So what we want to see happen is we want to see the conversion line, the lagging span, be free and clear of the price action. Okay? What that does for us is that puts the price action above the cloud as well, for what? No less than 3 to 4 hours. Okay? So hypothetically, by the end of today's trading day, if we close at 335, 334, somewhere in that range, we're really close to where we're at right now, or higher, we should be in very good shape to see the price continue upwards. Again, pending Bitcoin doesn't dump between now and then, we'd obviously see that in the charts. But if Bitcoin just literally goes sideways, I think this would be a very viable consideration for a long. It's just a little premature, a little early based on good confirming factors that I like to use. But again, nice 4-hour time frame, that shift in momentum's happening. So I really do foresee likelihood of further upside here, or at the very least a retest of this 360 range. I think that we're probably going to see that soon. So I'm going to consider gearing up for something like this, but you got to recognize too, that Bitcoin's doing exactly what it does every time. It ramps up to a key level resistance and then pretty much dumps. So we're seeing that right now. Is it going to dump back down to 93K? We got to wait and see, but it's shaping up to do that almost exactly right now, as per usual. It's normal. And that's just market makers 101, folks. They're going to continue to do that until we break up or down. And at that point, we got to reevaluate. For right now, it's just strictly range-bound trading, which I particularly dislike the most. Actually, no, I think I dislike breakout trading the most because this market's full of false breakouts. But range trading, it doesn't work super well with my swing trading targets, and more importantly, obviously you can adjust that, but it's just such tight ranges that the only thing that really is successful right now is day trading. For the most part, you got to kind of watch it, you got to kind of pay attention, get in and get out, and secure your profits when you can. Cool. Anyways, that's what we got there. I'll post a playout chart on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. That'll be available for you shortly, or just right now, as a matter of fact. If you're watching this, it's up. So check that out. Link down below if you're curious about that. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great rest of the day. We'll look forward to seeing the next one. Take care.